Hi. I haven't made a YouTube video for a few weeks. I've been busy teaching online and lots of things happening. And I came into my studio just now and I'm working on a new process and some new ideas. And I thought I'd share it with you just to kind of show you how the ideas develop, because I often get asked, how do I know what inspires me? And the things that inspire me are usually they just creep up on me in the process of making a lot of work, in the process of doing a lot of experiments. So I thought it'd be interesting if I just showed you a little bit of how that emerges, what I'm doing, and then show you what I'm doing now and how it's translated into the work that I'm doing now. So let me take you over to my painting table where I have a camera overhead, and I'll show you a couple of sketchbooks, and then we can go look at some paintings and see how it's all panning out. So this sketchbook is from a while ago. It's out sketching in the landscape, doing very rough, quick paintings and sketches, not worrying about accurately capturing the landscape, but more quick impressions and embedding the feeling of being there in my mind. This was a stone wall drawn with my eyes closed. I often draw this with eyes closed or looking away, looking ahead at the thing I'm looking at and not at the paper. Same here. Just like working on capturing a feeling, a sensation. These were field lines. This was some grasses and a stone wall. Here were some farmhouses on the hill. More stone walls, the shapes of buildings on hills. So you can see it's very rough sketching. That's to embed the idea in my mind. But what I've written here is nice movement, feels full of life. I was looking for a feeling of life in landscapes. I made some ink studies, and so here is, these are quick flowing ink, using that to try and get some of this feeling that I was looking for. But on a couple of them, I began to bring collage in. So on this one, there's a couple of different coloured inks, some charcoal, and a little bit of collage. I keep a studio notes book where I make notes on things that are interesting me at the time. So just before I started the work I'm doing now, I was thinking about Franz Klein, bold marks, confidence, clarity, brush marks evident, Joan Mitchell, textures in a Jasper Johns painting, energy in it's not just the Jackson Pollock paintings I've pulled out, but it's Jackson Pollock moving, flinging paint, action, whole body engaged, at one with the painting. That was important to me in thinking about this. Drips, Cy Twombly, drips, movement, no restraint, no filters. Tracy Emin, emotion I've written. Limited palette. These are all, I'm not like, when I stick these in at the beginning of a period of working, I'm not trying to make sense out of it. I'm just sticking in quotes and things that mean something. So Helen Frankenthaler, I'd rather risk an ugly surprise than rely on things I know I can do. I don't know why I've left gaps there. I looked at some parts of my own paintings that I liked, just sections, and what did I like about them. See the drips, this will become, the drips and the scribbly scratchiness, this is going to become clear when we get to what I'm doing now. I've cut out, these are just crops from paintings. These were some ink studies, and I've written what I like about them. And love this dark contrasted with scribbles, texture in scribbles, this colour palette. But here I've written love the movement in this. So it's the brush strokes. Movement on the right hand side is delicious. So just noting, these were all scraps of paper from studies I was working on in the studio. I do a lot of work that's not for finished pieces, but you'll see why when we get to the paintings. And then I moved on to concertina books. And at this point, this is where the collage began to come in. So I have these concertina books that I just work in very freely, but I began to collage in text and then cover bits of it over again so it was obscured. And I was really enjoying the layering over of collage with paint, and that is what spurred where I eventually, when I started working on panels again, where I got to. And you'll see limited palette I've become really interested in. So let's look at where all that led me to when I started painting. So I started making paintings like this one, which is down on the floor. You'll have to ignore the radiator. And I was making very big, quick gestural marks, and I was really liking what happened when I made the big gestural marks. But then I was finding that it was very thin, so there wasn't enough interest and texture happening in it for it to interest me. So I began to build up the layers in the light here with collage materials and scribbles, just like we saw in that sketchbook, while keeping those initial marks that had a lot of energy. And I found it quite difficult because it's hard not to, you don't want to be too precious about things, but you need to get that interest and depth, or I do, in the painting. That's what I want in my paintings. So then I started this process, and I'm currently just at the beginning stages with a couple of panels here. So what I've been doing is layering collage, just random vintage collage papers. I have mountains of these things, this kind of thing. And I just layering on one layer. It's gessoed panel, so there's a layer of gesso, then a layer of collage materials, and here I've layered sewing pattern over top of some of the collage. When it's thoroughly dry and thoroughly sealed in, as this is now, and all nice and flat, then I'll paint over the top with some very light neutral colours in quite reasonably thick paint, and then I'll sand back using my handy dandy orbital sander, and I'll sand back so that some of these textures come back through, and I do quite a few layers. Then I'll probably collage again, paint again, collage again, paint again, until I've built up a really interesting surface. I'll also scribble and draw, and then the idea is, if you look on this painting, which I'll show you shortly, there is all sorts going on very subtly. Can you see the music, text? There are areas where there's nothing, and then there's areas where you can see the collage come through. There are scratchy lines from past layers. There's a little bit of a sewing pattern coming through. Can you see? On this one, all the lines from prior layers are showing through. Some collage, so it can create some really cool textures. And by doing that, what I've given myself is a really textured and interesting light background to work on. And then I'm trying to get that energetic initial marks that I loved from this painting down here and some others, but to get those really quickly down on top of a background that's been built up over time, so that I get effects of real energy and movement in the painting. These are abstract landscapes. I want you to feel like it's windy and raining, like there's just a storm coming and hitting you. And I can't do that with carefully, thoughtfully applied paint. So this was really nerve-wracking, because I had to just come in here and within half an hour put most of this down. I've gone over top now with a lot more layering and thought and subtle colour layers on top of light layers, etc. But that the bulk of that composition was done in maybe 40 minutes. And I just love, and I won't let myself touch any of the marks that I made, because the idea for this series is, as I had said in my sketchbooks, where I want this sense of movement, I can't do that if I'm working slowly and carefully. So I have other smaller pieces on the go. This one I'm really becoming very fond of. This one I really like. And getting real sense of like energy and movement, but also history and subtle colour shifts and things to look at, so that you don't have a situation where you get to look at a painting and you're disappointed when you get up close because there's nothing else to see. I want them to feel meaty, like you could spend a long time in them. One over here which is coming along nicely. So that a lot of things buried, as you see these stripes here, almost buried. Lines coming out and then going and getting hidden. Scratchy textures, sanded textures, collage back over top. And sometimes I'll come back in then and put some collage, like here. This is some architect's plans, and that is almost like that's not been covered over with paint, just a bit up here. So that's visible. If I've got something I want you to see, then I'll make it visible. But these little, I love it, like the little scratch I've written on this, and that's what's left of it after the paint covered some of it up. So I'm just loving all the textures and interest that's in there. This is another one on the wall here, which was done in reaction to some very emotional news. And I just went to town, and I love the energy of it. It's that it might not be the most sophisticated painting ever, but I love the raw energy of it, and that's what I want in my work. So that's what I'm doing, and I wanted to just show you how these ideas emerge and develop out of things you've done in the past or things you've done in sketchbooks, but they have to come from within you. They have to come from what you most care about. So do you see how it's a totally organic process where one thing flows into another? But it couldn't happen if I wasn't always in here painting and trying new things and asking questions. So there isn't I often say to people, there isn't a shortcut to get the answers that you want. So someone will say to me, I want to abstract the landscape. How do I do that? I don't know. How do you? Like, that's your job now to figure that out. Or I want to work with acrylic mediums. How do I do that? I don't know. Go find out. And I don't say that glibly. I don't say that to just push you away. I say that because that is exactly what an artist does. An artist sets themselves a question and then goes and figures it out. And in doing so, we make lots of work on the way. And some of it's rubbish, and some of it's okay, and some of it's amazing. And we just keep going, and at some point things gel together. But we have to make a lot of things that don't work in order to get to the things that we feel do work. And the questions that we set ourselves are our own questions. No one else cares about them, only us, so we can't expect someone else to answer them. And if they did, it would be boring anyway. So if I was to say to you, oh, that question you've been thinking about, here's how you do it. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, perfect painting at the end. Even if I could do that, which I can't, you would be very dissatisfied with that, because the whole point of this is the discovery. Coming into our workspaces to find something new, that's the point of being an artist. Now, the kind of video I've just made for you, I make all the time for my artist community, Your Art Tribe. There is a link below this video in YouTube for you to click and join that, or you can find it on my website at louisefletcherart.com. Just look at the For Artists tab along the top, and it's called Your Art Tribe. It's a very low cost monthly membership, and you will meet fabulous artists of all different levels of experience, all different types of work, and you will also get this kind of educational content from me. So I hope to see you there. Oh, also free 1 month's trial. So what you got to lose? So I'll see you there. If you like this video, do subscribe and leave me a comment and tell me what you think. Bye.